but I'm going to focus on 3 different ways you can contribute to Drupal in issue queues in particular. One of those is cleaning up issue queues, so helping maintainers of Drupal core and Drupal modules to close old issues, just give quick answers. Sometimes somebody will post in an issue something that's completely nonsensical or weird, and they'll never come back to close it, but it's just sitting there hovering in the issue queue, adding to that count of 8,000 issues for views or something. If you can clear those out, that's really helpful to the maintainers to make them feel like they've accomplished something. And then also testing and reviewing a patch in an existing issue. We'll do one of those. And then also finally writing your own patch using Git. And for this example, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. There's a lot of things we could do to make all this workflow a lot faster if you want to script it all and do drush and all that. But to make the illustration simpler, I'm going to do it all with basics and copying files by hand, that kind of thing. But we'll use git apply and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing I want to go through is helping clean up an issue queue. And there's an article on Drupal.org, a documentation page, that kind of goes through some of these things, helping maintainers in the issue queues. And like I said, one thing that can, even if you've never done any PHP development or Drupal much, this already can help your favorite module developer have a much better life. There's a lot of modules out there, like some of the ones that I maintain. I don't really get to those modules as much as the ones that I still use or that I know are more popular because, maybe only 500 people or 200 people use it, and it's not that big a deal to me. But there's issues like, I can't get this to work. And you can just go in there and say, well, did you try this? And then put the status as postponed. That way, next time I come into the issue queue, I'll say, oh, this has been postponed for 6 months. That person never responded. I'll just close it. So just doing that can really help a maintainer to not have to have those open issues that are just bugging them and that are classified as bugs, which makes their module not look as good. So a couple notes I have on that. One is that as long as you're not stepping on someone's toes, like if a maintainer says on there, I need this specific information, and then you close that ticket before somebody else has a chance to give that information, that's not very nice, and that wouldn't be appreciated, but just helping clean it up in general would be good. I'm going to pop into the private message modules issue queue. It's a very widely used module, and their issue queue, let's see how many it has today in it issues. Their issue queue has 364 open issues, and there's only really 2 main developers of this module, and those 2 guys I don't think will ever get to all these issues, but we can help them at least with a couple. I'm going to go in, and there's an issue that I looked at earlier just to make sure that it was simple enough for this demonstration, and it's how to add a class to the messages link in the user menu. Where is that? How to add, here it is. Okay, so here's an issue, and this is very typical. Somebody will put something in where it's more of a general Drupal thing, like they just want to take a link that's in a menu and add a class to it so they can theme it a certain way. And this is something that I've heard hundreds of people ask for. It's a pretty common Drupal thing. And in fact, if you search on Drupal.org or on Google for how to add classes to menu links, you'll find hundreds of examples. And doing a search for that usually brings up theme menu link. And you can find this in the API documentation. All you have to do is in a custom module, or not in a custom module, in your theme in the template.php file, add in theme menu link, and then modify the variables. Do it differently. So take this. Where's the source? Oh, here it is. So you basically take this, put it in your template.php, and modify it to your desire, and you can add in a class to that. If you search on Google for it, you'll find a lot of examples, and in fact, down in the comments here, you'll see that there's an example right here, how to add classes to menu links. So what I would do is I would just say, copy this, the link to theme menu link, pop in here to this issue and private messages queue and tell this person, something like, I think it would be best if you use theme menu link, and then we can put a link in there. Use theme menu link to add CSS classes to particular menu links on your site. See the comments in the API documentation for an example. And basically, I mean, I might put, postpone maintainer needs more info if it's something where it's more like this is probably something the maintainer would want to look at someday. But for this, I would probably put fixed, just to make it so that this person will come back someday, they'll look at it, they'll see it in their issue list, and they'll see, oh, this is great. Or, they can always reopen it, so it's not like you're killing it by hitting fixed. I would stay away from any of these closed statuses if it's not an issue that you own, like you posted it or you're working on it, just because that takes it out of the issue queue entirely. So for this one, I'm going to mark it fixed and don't have to do anything else here. And that's one issue that in 2 weeks, when Drupal.org cleans up the old issues, will be out of that list of active issues. And it's pretty simple. I think that'll solve it for this person, for member R. That's something as simple as that can really help somebody. And almost every module that has more than 10 or 20 issues has at least 1 or 2 issues. That's ridiculously simple. And you can just link to something, close it, and you're done. So that's the first example. And going along with cleaning up the issue queue, there's also a blog post. I couldn't find it before today, but it was like from last week or something. Drupal.org, for Drupal 8, they want people to come in and go into Drupal 8 issues, and I think there's a tag on them. I don't remember what it is. I think it just needs issue summary. They just want people to go into an issue, read through it. If there's a patch, glance at the patch, see what it's doing, but basically summarize what's going on in that issue and write out a summary at the top of it in this issue summary section. And that's another thing that's ridiculously simple. It just takes time, and a lot of the developers who are working on the actual patches and things, if they want to come over to a new issue and help on it, instead of making them read through sometimes 100, 200, 300 comments before they can understand what's going on, if you can just summarize, hey, this patch is doing this, here's the problem it's fixing, here's the steps that are remaining, like just summarize that at the top. That's a huge help. And that's one thing that I think I would be able to do a lot more. I just don't take the time. It takes maybe 5-10 minutes per issue to do that. But if you can do 1 or 2 of those in a given week, that would be a huge help, I know, to either module developers or core maintainers in the core issue queue. The next thing I want to take a look at is simply testing and reviewing a patch. So I'm going to bring this over. This is the Drupal 7 issue queue, and I'm just doing Drupal 7 just because I found an issue that's simple enough for us to look at in here instead of Drupal 8, which is a moving target, and every week there's different issues that are opening and closing. And in this, I'm just going to find a patch, test it, and then post back on that issue how that patch works. And this is something, a lot of issues you'll see are needs review, needs review, needs review. That just means somebody needs to go in there. Some of them are more complex, so if you're not deeply involved in the form API and there's something crazy complex about it, don't review that. But if it's something like there's a theme change, or if there's just a functional change that changes the arrangement of buttons, you can review that, and then you can say this is perfect, it works exactly how it's supposed to, or it still needs some more work, and then set the status. So there's also a way that you can find if you're just starting out and you just want to do the bare minimum in terms of requiring a lot of thought and all that. There's a tag novice on here, and of course there's a ton of novice tags, but novice is the main one. if you search the queue for just novice, you'll find a lot of, and we'll do open issues. There's a lot of issues that are really simple. Some of them are just, I just need to change this line in the documentation or something like that, that anybody should be able to do if you have a basic setup. And you can go through these issues and find one of those and do it sometimes in a few minutes or whatever. But especially if you're starting out, it helps to be able to do some of these smaller issues instead of trying to get into something complex right away, because you can focus on getting Git to work right and getting your local environment to work right, rather than focusing on some really complex problem in Drupal. So I'm gonna go into this issue here that I found in the Drupal 7 queue. Hold on a second. And it is labels and tables need some less padding. A little alliteration, I guess. This was actually an issue that was in the Drupal 8 queue, and they fixed it, and now it just needs backport to Drupal 7. But as they have a tag here, it needs manual testing. It's a really simple thing. Basically, one of the labels in a table is misaligned, and you can see in the last comment here, David Rothstein, who's a Drupal 7 maintainer, tried the patch and found that there was a little problem in Geerling, and I don't know if it's in Internet Explorer or not, but basically it'd be good to get one more eyeball on this patch before just to move it along, instead of having it stuck in needs review forever. So what I'm going to do here is I have, I'm using MAMP on my computer, the Mac, Apache, MySQL, PHP, but if you have a Windows computer, you can use XAMPP or WAMP, or if you have Linux, you can just run, or if you have a Mac, you can just run PHP and Apache on it. Anyway, I have MAMP, and I have a site here. I think it's one of these two, a D7 core patch. I have a site set up where I just have Drupal 7, the latest version of Drupal 7, running on my computer at all times. And if I ever need to, I can just rebuild the site by deleting the settings.php file and emptying the database. And there's actually a Drush script to make that faster, but for our purposes, we'll just do it manually. So if I go there, local.d7corepatch.com. So this is running Drupal 7, the latest dev release, and to make sure that it's the latest code, I'm going to go in using Git, so cd Drupal core, I can't see that. Cd core Drupal 7, okay. And then I'm going to, I have a checkout of the code, and if you go to drupal.org/project.drupal and then click on the Git instructions, it shows you how to check out core using Git. So basically, in this folder that I have set up, this is my site root folder in MAMP. I just have a checkout, a clone of the Drupal 7 from drupal.org. So I'm going to reset that to make sure I have the latest. Git reset. Git reset hard. Okay. And I'm going to remove that pesky.ds store. Okay, now I'm going to pull the latest changes using git pull from drupal.org. And so this is going to pull down any changes since the last time, which was a couple days ago, I think. Any changes that they've made to Drupal 7. And now I'm up to date. And let me switch back to this site. I'll refresh it, and then I'll make sure there's no updates to be run. And another way to do this is to clear out the entire site and then rebuild it. That's usually a little bit better, but for time purposes, I'm just going to do it this way. Of course, it'd probably be quicker to use Drush, but for simplicity's sake, this is easier. Okay, so now I have a Drupal 7 environment set up on my computer, completely empty and up with the latest code. So I'm going to go into the site root over here, and I'm going to grab the latest patch in this issue here, and apply that to my local Drupal 7 environment. So where is the patch? I guess this is the Drupal 7 patch. Hopefully it still works. It's been a while since I set up this presentation. So I'm going to grab this patch, the Drupal 7 patch, and I'm going to put it into this site root, the Drupal 7 checkout. And then, what is it called? 1, 3. Okay, so here it is. And then I'm going to go into my terminal here, and this one, and I just use git apply, and then I like seeing the output. And then is it 103? That's it. So I use git apply, and then it looks like the patch applied correctly. So now that that's done, I'm going to go back over to here, and let's see, my notes. I'm going to edit the article content type, not content. Edit that. And add a text field with unlimited values. Save. And unlimited. This will make a table that's in the format that we want to check. So now that that's saved, I can create an article, add content, article, and now this, in the overlay, this is the 7 theme, and this is the section right here that we're interested in. And it looks like, I think I need to also add a description to that field, so hold on a second, forgot about that. Just to make sure that the description looks right. Manage fields. Don't have admin menu set up here, so I have to click around so much. Okay, test, help, text, here. Save. Okay, now I'll add an article. And in the 7 theme, this looks all correct to me. It looks how it's supposed to look in Drupal 8, supposedly. So see, here's how it's supposed to be looking. The alignment and all that for the test and the little grabbies. But what David Rothstein is saying is that in Garland, it looks a little funky now because the text field and the alignment is not the same with the description. So I'll test that in Garland really quick. First, I'm going to take a quick screenshot. On the Mac, it's Shift-Command-4. Select that. Say, here's the after picture, after that patch was applied. And now I'm going to go to Appearance, set the admin theme to the default theme so that I can test in Garland, and then add content, article. Oh, Bartik? Oh, sorry. Default, and then, okay, yeah, so that should be set to default theme, which is Bartik, yeah. Which one was he saying?
Garland.
Oh, okay, sorry. So, see, I'm not very good at reading issues. So, anyway, Bartik is fine then. So we want to enable Garland and set it to default. And, let's see, so that's good. Oop. Now I want to add an article, as I've done like 8 times now. Look down here, and you can see that this looks like his. So we're basically just confirming what he said. I'm going to take a screenshot of that so I can attach that to the issue. And that's after. So now I'm going to switch back and go to the before. So git reset. So I've reset that, and I'm going to refresh my page here and see how that looks. So this is without the patch applied. See how it looks correct in Garland. And if I go back and I apply that patch again and refresh, of course with the overlay, it doesn't save your location. See how this moved. So technically, it looks like I'm confirming what David Rothstein said. In Garland, it does look a little bit out of alignment. So what I'm going to do at this point is say, it does seem a little wonky in Garland, but should we, I'll set this to needs work, should we fix that with some theme-specific CSS, or should we leave it be? And then in my testing, I found the exact same thing happened as David Rothstein. So basically, I mean, for this issue, to move it forward, I'll just ask this question, which is, logically we can just say, I wouldn't care about it too much, but if somebody is using Garland, they might care a little more about it, come in and say, we really do need to fix this, and then they can fix it. But, in my opinion, I don't think it's that important. But setting it back to needs work makes it so that somebody will come in here now and kind of move it forward. A lot of times, just giving a confirmation that something is wrong or something is going on can move the issue forward. And it's pretty simple for something like this just to pop in, download the patch, and then apply it using git apply, and then test it. And that's how you test almost any patch on Drupal.org. When you get into more complex things later on, sometimes people use different branches and things, and that's more how GitHub works, and I think we're moving towards that for some things. But for most of Drupal.org, it's just grabbing a patch, applying it to your local Drupal site, testing it, and then posting a screenshot or saying, here's what happened. So that's a little bit more advanced than just helping in the issue queue by putting a summary or something. But that will go a long way for a lot of things. Let's see. So I'm going to close out of that. So I'm going to go into the advanced help issue queue. And this is a module that's also used by thousands and thousands of Drupal sites. And it's also a module that has probably over 100, I don't know how many, let's see. There's only 52 bugs, so maybe it's not the most cost-effective for our time. But there's a couple issues in here that are simple enough that we could make a patch for. So there's an issue here, allow more space. Oh, that's the first one, for the up text. Now that's a strange feature request, I guess. But let's pop in there and see what they're asking. So this sounds like somebody who is multilingual or definitely from a different country than the U.S. or somebody who's doing a Spanish site, something like that. I have a sneeze. And they're saying that with advanced help, there's a section that's not displaying correctly if you're not in English because the word is different. And in English, it's up, which is a very small word, but in other languages, I don't know what this is. Umhug. Not sure. I've never heard that word before. But anyway, in their language, it doesn't work because the CSS is very specific about how big that is. So they're proposing just change this little block of CSS. Now, for a maintainer, when you see something like this, you notice there's no patch attached. You don't know exactly what their context is. Where is this going in the module, all that kind of stuff. So one tip for a pro tip, I guess, for if you want something done quickly in a module, you want a fix to happen, if you can provide a patch for that module maintainer for core, even if it's not a perfect patch or even if it's not complete, if you can give them a patch, they'll immediately be able to review it. If they have automated testing, it'll be tested. It helps the whole process get kicked off more with a bang instead of like a fizzle. So in this case, they gave what they wanted to happen, but they didn't give a patch for it. So the module maintainer would have to find where they need to put this and do it and test it and all that stuff. So in this case, I'm going to take this, what this person, the issue that they're finding, and I'm going to turn this into a patch. And if you find a bug, you can do this straight away in the first issue summary when you create a new issue. But in our case, we're going to take this and make a patch out of it so that it's easier for other people to review. So to do that, the first thing we want to do with our trusty terminal is we want to get the code for advanced help. We want to check out the Git code, or the Git repository. So if you go to the module page, version control, or on Drupal core, go to version control, and you want to work from whatever version you're trying to patch. So in this case, 7x, 1x. And then it gives you this instruction right here, how to get the code. How to get the code. I wonder how they came up with that. So I have a folder here that I usually do all my contrib work in, and it's called Drupal contrib. Very fancy. So I'm going to grab this line here. Makes it simpler than having to memorize it. There's also Drush shortcuts for all this kind of stuff. So as time goes on, if you do this more, look those up. It'll be a lot faster that way than copying and pasting and all this. So I'm going to go into terminal. I want to get out of there. I'm going to go into this directory, and then I'm going to clone that by just pasting that command from Drupal.org. And now you see that it checked out advanced help. Here it is. And so we'll go back to this issue, and they're saying that he wants more space, and the proposed changes here, but he doesn't show what file that's in. I'm guessing it's in one of these CSS files. Oops. So let's see, help.css. Let's see if it's in there. Help up. So here's that. And you can see right now the setting width is 4%, which is pretty narrow. And I can see why that would cut off the up. So he's saying he'd like display block, float left, margin 0%, 2%. So, I don't know if that's going to be helpful or not, but we'll do 10% and then text align center. So basically we're making this match this. I'm leaving this comment in for left to right. Save that. So I made that simple change to help.css, and it doesn't look like they have a right to left example in here, so we don't need to change anything else. And now that I've made that change, I can switch back over to my trusty terminal, and I'm going to go into advanced help. And then if I use git status, I have a shortcut for GS for that because I type it about 1,000 times a day. You'll see that it has this help.css file changed. And for those of you in this room, it's hard to see because I chose a deep red. But it's easier to see on my computer. So now to make a patch for that, all I have to do is say git diff, and that just makes a diff, a patch file. And then the, what's that called, right caret or something? That little symbol. And then the convention I typically use, and I think some people use different conventions, is I take the issue number and then a dash, and then the comment number of my new comment, which will be 2, and then help CSS up. So I just kind of use some text here that makes sense in the context of the issue, so that people, if they're tracking the issue by the issue number, they can track it that way, and if they're looking at the file name, they can kind of know what it's doing. So all I have to do is type in that, and now if I look in the Finder, I'll see this patch file created. And now I can just take this patch, and I can say needs review, because it's a patch. Whenever you upload a patch, you set it to needs review, and then somebody else will review it at some point, and then if they like it, they'll hit reviewed and tested by the community, and then it'll be merged in. So I have a patch here, and I'll just put something simple. I took, what's the username? Oh, it's harder to remember, something like that. I took suggestion and made a patch. Looks reasonable to me. Please review. So I'll just grab that file right here, attach it, save, and now at this point the maintainer for advanced help can pop in here, and instead of seeing just this jumble up here that isn't as helpful because he doesn't know exactly what's trying to be changed, he can come in here and say, oh look, there's a patch. And then he sees, again, the dark color scheme. Sorry, you can't see it in the room here. But he sees exactly what's changing in his module, and he's like, I see exactly where that is wrong and how that helps. And another feature, I have DR editor on Chrome here, and it's a script you can download. I think it's drupal.org/project/DR editor. And for every patch in Drupal, it adds a review button, so you can review the patch in your browser without having to do anything special. And it has nice formatting tools and all that. And now, I think as of about a week or two ago, there's this cool button called simplytest.me. And there's a website that was set up, I forget by who, but I did a blog post about it called simplytest.me. For any patch, you just click this button. And this is more for if you just want to review it, like if you're reviewing other people's patches. And it'll go to this website, it has a patch, and it has the project name filled in, and it has that patch filled in. And all you have to do is hit Launch Sandbox. And now instead of you having to apply a patch locally on your computer and set it up and check everything out, you just wait a second for this to set up a Drupal 7 site. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but usually it's pretty darn quick.
I think it lasts for, what, 30 minutes?
Yeah, I think well, I'm not sure. I think if you have an account, it lasts for like 60 minutes. If you don't, it's 30. Basically, it lets you test this. So now it filled in my login, so I'll log in here. And I need to get rid of the toolbar too. So I'm going to check and make sure Advanced Help is installed. I think it does that. I haven't used simplytest.me except for once or twice. Okay, so it's there. I don't know exactly where to test this because I don't use Advanced Help. So where is the page that has that? It has that listing.
What was the CSS?
Help up. The file is help.css, I think. Wonder.
The navigation.
Okay. I wonder if you need. I'm going to turn off the overlay. Overlay. Switch that off. Well, I don't know.
View a topic?
Do you know where?
Probably advanced help way out there for.
Oh, hey, look at that. Who'd have thunk? And it looks like I'm guessing we have to have another module installed that uses advanced.
You have to have like views or something that's in.
Okay. Well, anyway, you get the gist of it. The cool thing is that simplytest.me, you just find a patch somewhere, either for Drupal core or for a module or something, hit this button if you have DR editor. Otherwise, you can just right-click on the patch and copy the link to it. Copy the link to it. And then you can go to simplytest.me, and then you can put in project name, advanced help. Do that, and then add the patch.
And that's where you can add an additional module like views or something.
Yeah, so we'll do that actually. views, just so we can check it
Do
out.
you want to do the dot branch for advanced help?
Oh yeah. Okay, this time maybe we'll get it to work. This is what I get for not actually testing all the stuff I wrote down.
Well, this is the same thing that I would do, though.
Yeah.
It's actually more realistic.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, sorry.
We're recording everything, so
Oh, awesome.
it'll be online later.
Can I mess with the keyboard and remove
Well, it's not connected to my computer. You can do what you want.
it in the corner like
Okay. At this point, I'm talking about how to write a patch for a Drupal issue on Drupal.org, but basically, I'm showing this site called simplytest.me, how you can just click a button in your browser and it'll let you test anything on Drupal without having to configure anything on your computer. So this time, let's go over again with all these. Let's see if there's topics this time. No, let's go to
The link for advanced help.
this guy.
So,
Well,
Try to translate advanced help. It sounds like the issue is when there was a foreign word.
oh, this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Up. Okay. So it looks like if we change that to a word like oblong or whatever that word is, I don't remember what it was. Oob,
Well, yeah.
something.
So,
I don't know what it was. Anyway, so now with that patch applied, this fits in there. If it wasn't applied, that patch.
There's plenty of room on the page.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, you can make it even bigger, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm maybe we could put that in the notes. Where's the help up? And so this is what it was. It was 4%. And if you have that, you can see the problem that guy was showing. So, that's pretty quick and easy to confirm that problem. And so we can put in here actually, I'll edit my current patch comment. Testing this on simplytest.me revealed that there's even more room if need be, so you could make the width maybe 15 or 20%. So basically confirming what he said, And now at this point, it's out of our hands because we're not the maintainers of advanced help. But since we made this patch, now all that the maintainer of advanced help will need to do, he pops in here, he says, oh, look, there's a patch. And then he can click that, or he can test it on his computer, make sure it's good. Or for something this simple, he could just open it up, say, that looks perfect, sounds reasonable, and then he can commit that patch right away. So it's a lot quicker than him coming up here, seeing, it looks like this is here, now I got to find out where that CSS is in my module and all that stuff. So giving a patch to somebody, even if it's something really simple like that, will make the whole process go a lot faster. And for any other issue queue where there's a feature request or there's a support request or a bug report or something that is simple like this, just making a patch like that in the 5 minutes that we did, that goes a long way towards helping that issue be closed and fixed. So I think I have a couple notes here, but the main note that I have for this whole section is, like for me too, with the modules I maintain, if somebody posts an issue that has a bug report and a patch attached, I'm 99% going to get that done within the next few weeks than if it was just a vague bug report. So like the first step is getting a bug report out there, post a new issue to a queue saying, I found this problem, or here's something that I think would be better. That's great, but if you can write it out in very much detail, like here's exactly how it happens, and here's why I think it happens, and all that, that's the next step, and that'll help a lot. But the best thing and the best way to get something through right away is to attach a patch that says, here's the fix. It's like, here's the problem, and I fixed it for you. So all you need to do is commit it. Obviously, it needs to be reviewed, especially if it's a little more complicated than one-line CSS change. But that it helps a ton, and it'll help you to get that bug fixed in the module that you use, and it'll help everybody else that's using that module too. So those are all the main things that I have, and I'm going to be posting this on midwesternmac.com along with a video. And there's a few more links down here. These are from Drupal.org, I think. It's hard to say Drupal.org quickly and not say .dot instead of .dot. So anyway, here's there's a whole section in the documentation on Drupal.org for new contributor tasks in the Getting Involved guide. And it goes from anyone, like this is things like fixing bad grammar or spelling problems on Drupal.org and documentation, to there are a lot of things that people who don't speak English or don't have English as their first language could do. If you're a programmer, there's a lot of things that you can do that'll get you started. And if you're a writer, somebody who's good at marketing speak or SEO, things like that, there's also tasks for you. And that's all really well outlined and detailed on the Drupal.org website here. And I'll have that link up. It's Drupal.org/new-contributors. And then on the Drupal ladder, of course, this is kind of what I was going along with, but I didn't quite go through the exact steps that they have in here. But this gives a good outline of what we did today. And I didn't go over today some things like installing Git or getting a website on your computer running, but those things are well covered in many different places, so just search that online. If you have a Mac or a Linux computer, it takes like literally a minute or two. If you have Windows, it might take 2 minutes, but it's still not difficult. And then here's, this is, I found this, but I was trying to find the actual news post about it. There's kind of a call to action right now, especially leading up to DrupalCon Portland. They want to make sure that there's a lot of good, well-written issue summaries for issues that are in the Drupal 8 core queue. That way people like WebChick, who are doing 6,000 things at the same time, can jump in and say, here's exactly what's going on, here's the current status, here's what needs to be done. Okay, can somebody do this? Instead of, here's 200 comments, I need to read through each one. And then finally, this was another, while I was actually doing the work on this a few months ago when I was starting to write up this presentation, somebody posted this and it was on the Drupal Planet feed, and I'm like, that's perfect, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. So this is another good resource.